Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and tonight I am joined by the ghost of Dana.
Woo!
Because apparently Dana got taken through a roller coaster and died.
Yep, I died while watching these episodes. I no longer live. You're speaking to the spirit that once was Dana that hosted this show.
In case you don't know, we're talking about Dawson's Creek, Season 2, Episodes 14 and 15. So I'll roll the credits and we'll get into what killed Dana. So these were some heavy episodes. I had, like you said, like a emotional roller coaster. I had rage and I felt it in my throat. That's how high like it was getting. Like, I almost was like, maybe we should have did each of these episodes individually because I was just like going through it also.
Okay, I was not alone in the death part of it. I'm just saying, like, I'm dead. I'm literally dead at what's happening right now. Like, I really thought like so many things were gonna happen, and then they pulled it back. It's like they were like, "Ha ha ha! Jokes on you! I was gonna do this, but I'm not." They're gonna figure it out. Like that's kind of like the whole thing. It kept feeling like people were gonna be something or do something. And then it's like, so my faith in them was shaken, like in almost all of the characters. So that's why I died because like they shook me too many times.
Well, the first episode, episode 14, is titled "To Be or Not to Be." ... Um, so we open in Dawson's room, and Jack apparently has put together this life lookalike of the town, like a model of the town, so that Dawson could do what looks like an aerial shot for his movie. I thought
Yep,
that was
it's
cool. I
pretty
was like,
cool.
so you guys are like friends now, sort of.
I thought the same thing. I was like, "Ooh, are we getting along?" Like,
Right?
and also it was very like chill, like
Yeah.
very realistic. Like he's a, he's like the art above all else. Like if there's anything that will bring him together, his former loves and love rivals, it's his movie. He'll do whatever it takes to get that movie to look.
Sorry, a motorcycle's going by. Um, so Pacey has to leave to study. And you could tell Pacey's like, do I leave these two alone? Like, are you guys gonna be okay?
First, I thought like, "Oh, is he gonna get kind of jealous because his boy Dawson's got a new boyfriend friend?" And then I was like, "Oh no, he's probably just concerned that they'll kill each other."
um, Pacey, I could have sworn they were all in this English class because they were all in the all-nighter episode for this teacher, but whatever. So Pacey and Jack were
Right?
in this English class, and they had to write a poem.
Yeah.
And this teacher is like, he's been a dick all season, but I hate him. I hate him. I hate him.
Yeah.
He's a
PTSD.
miserable person.
Yeah. Have you had a teacher like that? Like
No,
extra?
I've never had a teacher like that.
Oh yeah. I've had a few that like yelled or like tossed a desk or two. You know.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Listen, teenagers are awful. They're awful. Adults, anybody. So.
um, so Pacey and him have their usual banter, and he takes unnecessary jabs at Pacey.
Yes, which we do not appreciate.
That we do not appreciate. Protect Pacey at all costs. um, and him and Jack are kind of whispering, like, "What's up with this guy? Why is he a dick?" And he's like, "What was
Mhm.
that?" And Jack's like, "Nothing." And then he like makes Jack stand up and read his poem. And he's like, I really don't want to. And I guess at first this could be read as just like a teenager not wanting to like speak in public, like have everybody looking at him, which is normal. But he's like, I really don't want to read this poem. He's like, stand up and do it or you're gonna fail. I don't remember what he said. He threatened him somehow, which
Yeah,
to stand up.
yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed this, but as he was holding the paper, his hand was, like, shaking, like, the paper.
Well, I didn't see the shaking, but you could hear it in his voice.
Yeah,
Like, he was not okay. Like, and and as he started, it just only progressively got worse.
yeah.
Like,
I
as
noticed,
he
like, I was, like, looking at everything around, like, as they were, like, zooming in on him, and he was trembling while he was reading it. Um, yeah, which made that scene worse.
No,
Um,
it's just ugh.
I can't quote the poem, I didn't memorize it, but it basically, as it goes on, it implies that Jack had impure thoughts about a man, which then, implies
Right,
that he could possibly be
yeah.
gay.
Very and it was very metaphorical, and I thought, like, it was abstract, and he gives the vibe that from the beginning, he's an abstract artisty type guy.
Yeah,
So, like, I don't know if maybe I'm just really not good at, like, checking, like, any of that stuff, but I just did not think any of that was a part of the poem. Like, I took him at his word, like, or like, I was like, "Why is everybody freaking out? He's just writing a poem." I was thinking that something happened to him. I wrote down, like, "What happened to Jack? Did something happen to him in his past that
right.
is something horrific?" Because it found very, like, because also he's saying it very sad in a sad way, that it made it sound like he was scared and upset about this man in his life. And it was like, so my whole thing was like thinking abuse. I thought we were getting into the realm of some sort of thing happened to him as in his life. Maybe, and like, and then dad and stuff. And I was like, oh my God. But I was thrown by the accusations. I was like, what? What?
Well, maybe because
What?
there was a part in the poem where he says, "I loosen my collar," and,
Uh, Yeah. Oh, well, all right. I guess so. I mean, like, I don't know. I just so in the beginning of all that, as he was getting more and more upset, it was only reinforcing what I thought was like a traumatic event that he's kind of
yeah,
like reliving through this poem.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
But he didn't finish the poem. He was so agitated and upset that he ran out, and Sweet Pacey wanted
yeah.
to go check on him, and, like, the dick
I
teacher was like, "Sit
know.
down," and he was crying. He was like, "Sit down." I was like, "Punch him." Well, that's usually, like, my automatic reflex, just, like, hit him. Like, you shouldn't hit a teacher.
Person.
I'm not advising people to
Oh,
hit teachers.
like, if I couldn't love Casey more, he stands up for Jack in like the best way possible that anyone could ever ask for in those high school years, in those formative years, have someone like stand up for you and for everyone. Love it.
Um, oh, I should also point out that prior to this, Pacey and Andy were, like, all over each other in the hallway, and Jack and Joey were just kinda like, "Hi," and then he was, like, had his arms wrapped around her, and she was like, "Yeah, no, we don't do that. We do that in
Yeah.
private." Like,
Yeah.
but
Again, so like
that was foreshadowing for later.
right, but in that instance, she's reinforcing the fact that she's like not a PDA kind of gal. Like
Yeah,
he's trying to be like, "Hey,
yeah,
here we go."
yeah.
So it's kind of like it's also that's why I was so thrown off. I was like, "Why are they accusing him? I don't get it."
So they, Jack and Dawson, Joey and Dawson overhear these kids making fun of Jack and like talking about what happened in class, and they flat out are like, "Jack's gay" or whatever, and she's just kind of like slumps in her chair because Dawson heard it too, and she's just kind of like, what's going on?"
Yeah. Ugh,
Um,
Jesus.
she has to work with Jack later, and she doesn't really know how to bring it up, and he's kind of like, "Is this
Mhm.
something you want to say to me or ask me?" And she's like,
Mhm.
"I don't know." She's like, "It's
Well,
getting through
this
the
is
rumor mill pretty fast."
yeah. Well, it's like after the whole day has gone by and Jack's been like through it with everybody that's going on, and she's like, "Hey, I think what did her sister tell her to
Her
say?
sister,
Like,
rough day or long
how's it
day,
going?"
huh? Long day, huh? Yeah.
And he's like, "Yo, just ask me." And it's like, "Oh, right away, right out, just coming right out with it."
So he explains it away. He basically says, "I was exhausted after working on the movie all night, like the model for the town or whatever." He's like, and the last image was probably masculine. It could have been me, it could have been my brother. He's like, and then that's what I wrote. He's like, "I'm not gay." So she's comforted by that, and she
Mhm.
accepts that answer, and they hug. But there's still, like, a lingering question. Um, did she ask him, "Are you gay?" Because there was this whole elephant conversation with Dawson where he's like I did laugh. Dawson was wrong for this comment, but I did laugh when he was like, "There's an elephant in the room, and in your case, it's a gay elephant." I was like, "You're wrong for that, but that's funny."
Big gay elephant. Oh, I don't think she really straight up says, "Are you gay?" It's more like he goes, "I'm not gay." Like, he answers it like he sees the question on her face, I
Okay.
guess, and then he answers it for her, I think, in the beginning because see, now when I look back on this, I think I need to watch it a second time because, like, now going back on it, like, okay, there's like little moments where like he already preemptively answers the question, he's not gay, like because he's already thinking about how everybody thinks he's gay, and
Mhm,
he doesn't want everybody to know he is, or
mhm.
and it's kind of like. But for me, I was like taking him at his word. I was Joey in this scenario. I was like, okay, makes sense.
Did you
It's
think
his brother.
that did
Fine.
you did you think that because of everything you've seen this season, that he seems really into Joey, like, that this was just, like, a rumor,
Yeah,
like a bullying storyline pretty much?
right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, I
Yeah,
thought this because it's like fucking. Sorry, it was one of the things that, like, especially with the locker, I was like, oh, real original. Like,
yeah,
oh my god, whoop-de- also coming from 2024. You know what I mean? Not
yeah,
1998, 99, where like coming out was a huge deal, and like it's like a little. It's still a big deal. It's just not. People aren't going to literally ostracize you the minute you speak it out loud. I feel like. I mean, I don't
yeah.
know. I could be completely wrong though too, but I just kept thinking like, ugh, this is just so like typical of teenagers to like that. It's so gross and
I
just judgmental
I
for
think
no
that the
reason.
reason why, like, I, like, felt so agitated and triggered by this is because while I don't have the home life, or I didn't have the home life that Jack did, I had a pretty good home life. Um, I remembered that fear of, people finding out
Mhm,
and
for sure.
denying it, and also dating girls to
Yeah.
try and, like,
Yeah.
hide it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I've said this
He
really
seems so
early on in the podcast. I was like, "Oh," I I was like, "I figured, like, I would just graduate high school, and then I would meet other gay people because I didn't know any other gay people, or so I thought. I'm sure there was, like, dozens of other gay people that
yeah,
were going through the same thing as me, and we just didn't talk about it."
literally just yeah, just nervous. They're literally alone. Yeah, I know. That's like keep fighting like the thoughts of an adult like coming into play as I like try to analyze what's going on in the show. Like I try to
Yeah,
put myself back there. Like I get the being nervous and doing everything antithetical to it because you don't want people to think a certain thing about you. I
right.
get that. It's just like oh my god, it just feels like so caveman like,
Mm.
for people to be so upset about something that now, like,
Well,
it
it
feels like,
like you
wow,
said,
how
it was
people
the late '90s, and,
I know, it
it is
feels like the
supposed to be a
50s is
small town, so there's that
yeah, I
aspect of it
know,
also.
put it together, yeah, I mean, but that's when I say that, it's like I'm trying to make it seem like 24 is so better, it's not better, like, not better, and,
Hashtag it
like,
doesn't get better.
understand yeah, that and then it doesn't, like, at the same time, so, like, it just makes me go, like it makes me sad because it makes me think, "Oh, we really haven't gone that far," and then also, like, how we've gone far, but we haven't gone far enough. That the fact
Mhm,
that that stuff still happens, I'm just glad that I feel disgusted by seeing anything like that ever. Like, it's just,
yeah.
like, gross, like, immediate turn off, like, get out of here. Mm.
So I'm not sure the order because, like I said, like, there's so many emotional things happen in this episode. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure if the
same.
locker thing happened first or it was the next day and the teacher wanted him to continue reading his thing. After that whole scene,
No,
he wanted
it
him
was
to
after.
continue.
It
It was
was
after
after.
the
So, like
locker?
so, like, they get in, Joey kinda pushes them off a little bit after seeing Andy, and then they go into the thing because he talks about the poem to Dawson. I don't know what to write, like, what am I supposed to write? And Dawson gives him advice to write from the heart. So
Yeah.
or write from inside. Show your inner self. And so that's another sign. Jesus Christ, Dana, like just woo right over. I feel like I just didn't catch on at all. Oh my god. Okay. So like
I was so
so
worried for the first half of the season that you were gonna figure out that he was gay. Like I was just like, I'm not saying anything. I'm being my
what is
upset. Like,
wrong? Like I feel so dumb now, but it's like now I'm putting it together. Okay,
like that
so
maybe
like he
that's why
just
he
kind of
couldn't get it up that night with Joey. Remember, he had a problem getting it up.
yes, that's like the one thing that I was like, okay, maybe I see where they were doing before. That's why maybe that happens. But I had nerves. It happens sometimes with guys. Like they get nervous.
Yeah, and
But yes,
I only pieced that together once having seen it and then gone back, and then I'm like, oh, I see what they were
yeah,
doing
that's what I
there.
mean.
But
I feel like I need to go back and rewatch because it's like there are some stuff that literally like is almost like a giant sign that says hello.
that's really the only thing because I have been watching him all season, and I feel like that's really the only major thing that kind of points to this.
Plays it very straight. Yeah.
Yeah,
But he does say yeah, so, like so he gives them the idea, they go in, the little, PDA thing happens, they go into class, and that's when he asks them to read the first time, and then, Pacey's like, "That's not cool," and he cries and walks away, and then they have, like, the lunch thing or, like, they're standing around, and when the guys are standing around telling them, they go into the hallway, and then they notice it, like, right there,
the
just a
locker.
big red space.
Uh,
Yeah, uh-huh. And
yeah,
then, I think it's the next day is when he like, "Oh, well, I you didn't finish reading your poem."
right,
And it's like, "My guy, really? Like, you're telling me you don't know what happened?" Also, like, there's no way the teacher didn't know that that was written on the lock. It's for everyone to see, like,
right.
all of them.
Yeah,
Like
right. You're
yeah,
bullying a child.
literally,
And then
literally.
Pacey, again, the hero that he is, tries to come to his rescue, and he's like, "I'll read it," and he, like, starts reading it fast so that he just get through it, and the teacher's just like,
Uh-huh.
sit down," and they're talking over each other, and he's like, "I'm writing you a detention slip," and Pacey just, like, snatches
Mhm.
the detention slip, and he says, "Teaching students like you is like spitting in the face of the educational system," and then he literally spits in the teacher's face, and I was like, "Ugh, yes!" I was like,
Fucking right.
so disrespectful, most disrespectful thing you could do to anybody, but it's better than you getting in trouble for hitting him. So
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's for sure. But I think he deserved it.
he deserved
He
it.
was being horrific, like,
And like as
the
that scene was like swelling, I felt the anger like coming up my like I felt it in my throat. Like I was just like, hit him.
think
Like,
yeah, I think I exclaimed, I was like, "Yeah, that's right. I know that's right. I know Pacey spit in that man's face. That's right. It's what he deserves." Like,
what was your
it is
reaction? Did you
oh,
gasp? Did you
it was
scream? Like what
literally
did you do?
oh my god. Hold on, I wrote it down, I think. Hold on,
You
let me
wrote down
pull
your
it up. I think I
reaction.
well, I wrote down what I exclaimed when it happened because I remember going like, "Huh! Oh my god!" Uh, and then what did I write? So uh, all right, I'm gonna curse, but yeah, spit in his face. Oh my god, yeah, yeah, a lot of it was immediately like completely like justified, and like the fact that like he just PC did not back down to him, just literally was ready to just end it right there, go sit down at his desk, and he just had to up the ante, and then Pacey met him, and I was like, "This is what I'm talking about. This is why he is the best. He is standing up not only once but twice for Jack in public."
Right.
And it's like he's putting his own future, everything on the line. He's not known for being a studious guy. He's putting it on the line for his friend. I consider them friends at this point. I mean, I know he's his sister, but like when someone has that kind of moral, ethical
Compass.
line,
Mhm.
perfect,
Um,
and never let that go ever, ever in her life, girl.
and we should mention that in the beginning of the episode, well, after the credits, like the guest star credits, I guess, the counselor was like complimenting Pacey for his turnaround in his grades. He's like, I've never seen a student
Right.
like turn around. He's basically has a B average now. He's not failing anymore.
Yeah, he's doing the most, and he's really getting his life together. And
Yeah.
this is putting it at that what he did in the class, that was basically like throwing it all up to chance that it won't get all messed up kind of thing.
So they basically give Pacey an ultimatum. The administration that he apologizes. And I like how he thought it was like, I'm not apologizing for what I did. And they said if he doesn't, that he'll be suspended for a week.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me, I'm just like, a 1 week suspension. That doesn't mean anything, honestly.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, school? Oh no.
So Andy gets all defensive, like, why did you do that? She's like, why are you reverting back? And he's trying to be like, I was protecting your brother. Like, this man would not back down. He made your brother cry. Like, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So they're kind of having like a difference of opinion on how he handled it, I guess.
This is like one of the where I was shook. Lots of shook.
Like, now they're messing with the couple.
Exactly. It's just not only the couple, but like who I thought Andy was as a character. Because like earlier, that was when he's talking to her, the poem, and how he cried afterwards, and what people are saying. And Pacey was like asking her, like, well, what if he was gay? And she's just like, I'd be disappointed. And I'm like, about what? Right. What is there to be a disappointment about? Like, who cares? Like, being overly concerned about, like, kind of holds over from the whole thing with her mom and how she's like, I don't want anybody to know my business kind of thing, or it's an embarrassment to the family or some dumb like that. I was like, what?
This family is going through a lot already. Why are we going to add to it?
Yeah.
Right.
But how is him being who he is adding to anything? It was just kind of, I felt like my eyes were going to fall on my skull. Like, because I was like, who? What? That's what I wrote. Disappointed. What?
Well, I'm disappointed in you, Andy.
Exactly. It's like, who is this person? Like, I don't know them. Like, who is body snatching Andy right now? I can't. But yeah, so like
I did laugh when she was like, he's not gay. He's always talked about girls. He's dating Joey. He hates Madonna. Obviously, he's not gay.
That was a good line. I was kind of like, well, yeah, they do love Madonna. Like, kind of like prerequisite, right? Or like, it's just, it's just one of those things where it's like typical straight people saying things that are just kind of like, no. So, anyone can be gay. They don't have. There's no like list of things you have to do or like to be gay. You just are. Like, you have brown hair. Like, it's the same thing.
So going back to the locker scene real quick. So we should just say what it said. It said somebody spray painted fag on the locker, and there's a crowd standing around the locker gawking, basically oohing, eyeing, like, and he's standing there. So like, is he gonna go to his locker? So then he tries to put on a brave face, and he goes. And Joey starts to get emotional. And going back to the earlier scene where she doesn't like PDAs, she purposely was like, kiss me. Like if you kiss me in front of everybody, they'll see you're not gay, and it'll be okay. Everything will be okay.
And I thought that was awesome for her, because I was like, go there, go be with your mans, because I believe like this is just them, high school being awful to a poor guy who happens to be nice, has a girlfriend or whatever. And I was like, yeah, give him the support, because like he's being ridiculed literally right in front of you. Like, go do something. And I thought that was really cool of her. Just like walk up, be like, nah, this is my boyfriend. How about you guys can beat it? Like,
So Dawson is like by Pacey's side as he's like going to give his answer, if he's gonna like apologize or not. And I like that Dawson was like, I would never be ashamed of you.
That was nice.
So he basically was like, whatever decision you make, he's like, I'm still going to be your best friend. I'm going to be by your side, whatever. So Pacey apologizes for the act because it was a disrespectful act. But he does not apologize for his emotional reaction to him bullying another student into crying, which forced him to act that way.
Right. That's right.
He basically was like, I apologize, I did it, but I'm not really sorry. So decide what you want to do with me.
Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I was happy, so happy. I was like, he's so that's the thing. It's like Pacey's so smart. He knows what he's saying. He knows what he's doing. Like he's
Mhm.
not wrong. And even the guidance counselor kind of said something to the teacher is like, you made a student cry. Like you
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing that. Like regardless of whether he spit in your face or whatever, doesn't matter. Like you still did something wrong. And you have other harassment claims against you. Like it's not, like a one-time deal.
Dawson was, like, very chill in these episodes, giving advice to everybody, like, with Pacey and with Jack, right from the heart, and then with Joey with the big gay elephant, like
Like I said, my understanding of these characters was shaken
You're
throughout
like,
these
"Dawson has a
episodes.
brain? Dawson can listen to other people's problems?"
Who is this guy? Supposed to be thoughtful and emotionally mature. What? Who are these people? They are not the same people I had watched literally just an episode prior. They're different. It was Vision of the Body Snatchers, man. That's what this is. I was shook to my core about my fundamental beliefs in these characters. This every both of these episodes, both of them.
So, meanwhile, Jen is, like, giving in to dating this church the guy that brought her to Bible study. Now, I didn't remember him being, like, past that one episode. I thought, "Okay, this guy brought her to Bible study, we'll never see him again. We'll just know that it didn't work out
Right.
because it's Jen and
What I
whatever."
expected.
So I'm like,
Mm-mm.
"Huh." I'm like, "Really? He's sticking around?" Midway through this episode, I remembered why he sticks around, and I was like, "Huh, I remember now."
Yeah, we gotta
Um,
have somebody. Uh,
so apparently
who's
he
like,
likes to even apparently he goes to Bible study 3 times a week. I was like, "That's a lot of Bible." But he also frequents this bar that has, like, like, a lounge singer, and he drinks because he said it's the regular, which is a dirty martini, and I was Jen was into that. She likes the party lifestyle.
she's from
So
New York. She's a party gal.
so I guess this little mischievous side of him is intriguing to Jen.
Mhm.
So that's kinda where we left off with them in this episode. It was just her seeing this other
Yeah,
side of him.
yeah.
Um, so then, okay, I guess this was the end. Joey, he's just like, "Oh, hey, Joey," and she's like, "Hey, are you guy?" Like, she does, "Hey, Jack, are you guy?" Like, literally just blurts it out.
Seriously, that's how she handles it. She just comes in and just says, "Are you gay?" And then I was like, I think everyone was like, "Oh, just right out of it. No precursor, no hi, how you doings, no what's ups, no even a handshake. Just are you gay?"
And now that I'm remembering this conversation, I feel like she did mention kinda what we mentioned, like, she's like, "I know we talked about it, but we didn't really talk about it." Like, she's like, I didn't really get an answer." Like
He did like this fake thing,
Yeah.
and kind of danced around like the question, or like again, like she didn't ask straight up. He kind of volunteered a lot of information that he was willing to give, and she was like, she just took it. This time she's like, no, I need specific answers on these three things. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, was the poem about a man? Are you gay? And do you still want to be with me? And like, you know what I mean? And obviously we can't be together if you are any of those, like, or one of those things, you know what I mean?
He
So
basically says that he cares about her a lot, she's very special to him, and that he's not gay,
mm,
and that seems
yeah.
to comfort her, and they kinda hug. It looked like they were dancing, but they were just hugging. And you see her, like, the kind of the relief on her face, and then you see his face is he looks tortured on
Mhm.
the inside, like, he has to suppress
Yep.
who he really is. So we know that he
Well,
lied.
that's what yeah. So there was like a moment where like the camera was lingering on him, and I'm like, so are you not gay? Like, cause I don't, I want to take your word for it, Jack. But this lingering shot is telling me you are gay. Like
Uh,
again, like I feel so like ignorant to the whole show because it just went woo right over my head until they kept going about it, and I was like, because I really thought like other things. You should have heard me about my predictions. Like I have no idea what these two episodes are going to be about. It could be about anything. Lots of
yeah.
things happened in the late '90s. Who knows? It's not on my radar at all.
oh, and the ending with Pacey and Andy is Andy finds him sitting on the dock, And he's, like, really
Mhm.
upset with her that he, like, didn't, like, back him up and wasn't there for him. And she's upset about everything that he did and that he took the suspension. So they're kind of at an impasse, and they both think that they should be apologized to.
I wrote hold on, you wanna hear what I wrote? I
Yeah.
wrote something. I said what did I write? I wrote, "This is dumb. Don't break up over this dumb thing. This is a stupid thing to break up about. Don't do this." Because it
Don't do
was
this to
like
me.
right, well, not only that, because I love them together, but I agree with Casey. I feel like Andy was just a little cold and unfeeling towards the whole thing. Like she was only concerned about his GPA and like whether he's going to get to college or how the family's going to feel or how the family looks to everyone else around them about this. Not about the feelings of her brother or the feelings of her boyfriend, who were both struggling this episode, and she could be like, not bothered. And that's why I'm like, who is the woman? Don't know her. Do not know her.
Right.
Ugh, losing
Um,
it.
so I think that was it for that episode. Did I forget anything?
Let me see. Let's see if there's anything even worth else. Because like again, this always happens. I start off strong, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write notes about everything I'm thinking, and then I get into the and it's over. I
And
didn't
then you're
write
like, "Oh,
anything for
I didn't write
like
anything."
10 minutes. Oh, I didn't write anything for this whole last thing. Yeah, just a lots of I wrote Pacey is so pure. He deserves literally everything. Even though I know he's not pure. Yeah. Yeah, like the just basically the last bit of it. I did notice that they had a shot of the ice house, and I don't know if this actually meant anything, but like in the background when Jack comes up, there's like this little windsock in the background and
And it
it's
was a
rainbow
rainbow. It was
color.
a rainbow,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I noticed that too.
And I was like, I wonder if this is what it means. And you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh my
And I don't
god, because I
know
mean,
if I've ever noticed that before, but I did notice it this
yeah.
time.
Well, it also like even if it wasn't, if it like it could be a visual indicator to the viewers, but at the same time, this was like kind of like a sign that this was a safe place for Jack to be. So maybe like
Hmm,
subconsciously, when he was looking for a job, he like
saw
found
that.
this one because he thought this would be a safe place for me to be. I'm not going to be found out here or something like that. Because then, so it kind of really like made me go, oh, Joey's like his safe space. It's probably also why he picked her too, because
Mm.
she's she's a safe girl to be around.
She's a safe girl.
Yeah, I know that kind of is, but
Um,
yeah,
I felt for Joey because when you're a
I did.
teenager
Yes,
and you're, like, going through all these hormonal things and you think you look ugly and anything anybody says about your appearance, like, shatters your life and, like,
absolutely.
you don't, like you don't wanna be the girl that dated the gay guy or because
Yeah,
then you have the, "Is he gay because of me?" Like, "Am I so grotesque that he turned gay?" Like,
right.
you know better as
Which
an
is like
adult. When you're 15, you don't know better.
absolutely. I just
Although I would like
it
to
was
think
just
as adults we all know better, but we know there are some ignorant people out there.
yeah. Oh, I mean, like that's what I mean. Like it's better, but it's not. It's not at the same time.
Maybe it's just we learn
But
to not care. We get a little jaded and we're just like, "Who cares what people think?"
or it's kind of like, hey, like I did all I could have done in this relationship. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was going off of information that I was understood to be true, you
Right,
know? So
right.
like for Joey in this scenario, he was emphatically saying he wasn't gay. He
Yeah.
to the point where he like into this episode, he kind of like tries to prove it by making out with her a little bit, like showing him like how not gay he is by kissing her. And it's like, oh, you can be bisexual too, sir. We love a bisexual king. Like it's fine. You can be both. It's just so it's just kind of like I feel for her like in this scenario because it feels like betrayal in a weird way, but
You
like
just made me think I don't wanna jump to the end of the next episode, but you made me think
yeah.
about Joey's line, "So you're not gay? You are gay? You're half gay? Like, what are you?"
Right? Like, seriously. And but like, she also deals with self-confidence issues
Mhm.
all the way from the beginning. Like, most of the issues with Dawson was all wrapped around that,
Yeah.
so this is, like, not a good thing for Joey. I still think she's a safe person for Jack because I feel like she's like an ally.
Yeah.
Like, she was metaphorically
She just
shown to
wants
be
to
an
know the
ally.
truth so she can process it, deal with it, and move on
Yeah,
and date somebody else, I guess, I don't
yeah.
know.
He'll be for him. It's just that it was cool that there was like maybe a sign, a signal out there,
Yeah, I noticed it.
flying the flag that it's okay here. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. So
Yeah.
episode 15 is titled "That is the question." So it was to be or not to be. Dot dot dot. That is the question. Two-parter. Although
That
there
was so
wasn't that
clever.
to be continued. I was very proud of them.
Ooh,
They've transitioned out of to be continued.
yes. But I like the naming, and I'm glad I could see it when I saw it in the server or whatever. I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, that's fun.
So Pacey is finishing out his suspension. Apparently, he's been hanging out at Dawson's house in his room because he doesn't want to deal with his family ragging on him
Really
for being suspended.
good for him.
And Dawson's like, I can't wait till this is over so I can have my room back. And
Yeah.
I guess it's like bedtime, and he's like, get on the floor or whatever. And he's like, Joey gets the bed. He's like, how come I don't get the
Yeah.
bed?
Yeah. I like it. He's like,
Um,
you're not a pretty girl. Get out of here.
so I guess the post-credit scene is he's back in school, back in that ass of a teacher's class, handing in his 4
Mhm.
assignments that he missed while he was out, being a good boy.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and I don't think it was this scene, but later on he gets his paper back or his poem. He gets his poem back, and it was like a D.
It's Yeah, it's the same scene. He does it all in like one
Oh,
fell
okay.
swoop. Mhm.
And he's just like, I worked really hard on this, and he's basically like, well, you're a failure. So, and he's like, he announces that from now on the grades are going to be based on his personal taste. Like, that's not.
Yeah.
He's just a gross man. I can't stand him. Can't stand him.
I told that's probably the worst kind of person. And then at the same time, you think to yourself, you're like, there it will be people like that they will have to deal with though. So it's kind of almost like he's awful, but he's a perfect representation of like clients, bosses,
Yeah,
you know, customers on the other end of the phone, at the other
yeah,
side of the counter. Ugh, they're awful people, and he's literally that kind of person.
yeah.
But yeah, she
Um.
deserves another space.
So what's his name? Oh, Jack. Jack and Andy get called to the principal's office, and they
Mhm,
think it's because of everything that's been going on.
mhm,
And their dad is now in town, and
mhm.
they called him because of everything that went on.
Yeah,
And Andy's like always looking for like his acceptance. She's like, they go out to dinner, and she's like bragging, I got on honor roll, and he's just like, you always get on honor roll. She's like, well, I made it again. Like, she's just very like cheery and like
super happy to see him, and Jack was not happy to see him, like, at
no.
all. And
Yeah, she was all like
mm,
daddy, and she like ran and hugged him, and Jack's just like, fuck, why is he here?
yeah, like, oh my god, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and that dinner scene was rough, to
So
say the
fun
least.
fact, well, not a fun fact, but the actor has passed. He actually passed while the show was still on the air. But the actor that plays his father was actually gay in real life. So that's interesting that he's playing like
Really?
this bigoted, like, yeah, homophobic
I'm
father.
well, I mean, hmm,
Yeah.
I'm kind of he must have had to steel himself a little bit before he did that, because I'd imagine, like, that would have been hard to
Yeah.
do. Um, Probably pull I don't know if you pull from any of his
Like
personal
personal
experience.
experience, right?
Holy shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I whew, that's well, acting be acting, you know what I mean? It's his job, right?
um,
Damn.
he basically tells Jack that he's not gay, and if he thought he was, he's not. like the family has enough to deal with. They don't need this on top of it. And he's like, "Is that understood?" And he's like, "Yes, sir." Like, okay, because that's how this works. That's how
Yeah. You see
sexuality
where
works.
yeah, you see that's kind of where Andy gets it from a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
she obviously was heavily influenced by what her dad thinks about all of this situation, and
We have
she's
a
trying to
lunchroom scene where Dawson and Pacey are sitting, and Andy's sitting alone across the room. And he's like, "Will you just
mhm,
go over and talk to her?" He's like, "I can't believe you haven't talked to her in a week." And he's like, "She should
mhm.
apologize to me." So he's
True.
like, "I am going over." He's like, "Just give me a minute." He's like, he wanted to like play it cool, like he didn't just like run over to her. And he's just
Mhm.
like, "Hey," and she's like, "I was waiting for you to call me." And he's like, "Last I heard, like, the phone works both ways." And she's like, "What were you hoping to
Mhm.
accomplish coming over here?" And he was like, after hello, he's like, "I really didn't have a plan." And she's like, "Well, let me follow it up. What usually comes with after hello, goodbye." And she like walks away. I was like, "Oh,"
Right.
and I thought about you. I was like, "Dana
Yeah.
hates this. Dana hates this."
I do. Well, I think Andy is just such in the wrong in this scenario specifically. Like, I don't think she has a lot of leg to stand. I think Pacey makes so many overtures to her, like all the time.
Mhm.
Like even when he's doing something wrong, he knows like when she's going through her insane episodes, like it's kind of like he makes the effort and she kind of just is ready to write him off, it feels like at any given time. Like the minute they like start to argue, blah blah blah. Her main beef was that she thinks that he got mad because she didn't rubber stamp like his actions.
Right,
It's like, no, like you kind of just made it seem like you were going to break up with him just because you didn't do the thing, clean up the thing the way you wanted it to be cleaned up with. And
right,
it's messed up. It's
right.
messed up. And I think it was she should cut off. She should have said sorry. Simple as that.
She's a flight risk. She's ready to bail.
He
at
paid
any-
right. And then he's got abandonment issues and he thinks that like all of this like a fake thing. So it's kind of like the worst kind of person to be for Pacey in a way, even though she's like also the best thing for Pacey. It's so teenagers. Ugh. And the writers are trying to hurt my
Damn
feelings.
teenagers.
Well, as I'm saying, the roller coaster ride of this nonsense. I'm like, are you breaking my couple up? I can't handle this anymore.
So Joey and Jack kind of joke that he should have a coming in party and like a I'm not gay party or whatever instead of a coming out party.
I love that.
And she like wants to make him dinner and have like a private night. Um, I think per Dawson's suggestion, because I think he was like, I can't believe I'm suggesting this, but like he's like maybe you should have like a romantic private dinner or evening together. Um, but because his dad's in town, he has to call her and cancel. And she understands, but you can tell she's disappointed. And she ends up calling Dawson, I assume, and she ends up going to that club, that like piano bar or whatever that is, with Jen,
Yeah,
Dawson, and I can't remember his name.
church
um,
boy. We'll just say
Church
church
boy.
boy. Mhm. Church boy.
And he's like, four
Mhm.
usuals. And Dawson and Joey are like, what are usuals? And when they say alcohol, they're like, we'll have a Coke. And I like the
Oh,
little
so
scene. He
cute.
got up, I think he got up to play piano with the singer.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
like the little moment where it was just the three of them. And they were like, and Dawson was like, who would have thought about this trifecta? He's like me sitting here with the two women that dumped me
Yeah,
and are now dating
I
other guys.
yep, yep. It was a good little moment. Like I like it when they finally can come back together. I always want this. I want them to be harmonious with each other without
Yeah.
it being like too dramatic all the time.
Jen and
So
Joey
these
actually
moments
like smiled at each other and laughed. I was like, this
I
is weird. I
know.
love it. You're my girls. I love it.
This is why I'm dead. This is
This
currently
is
why I'm
what
dead.
I'm saying.
It's been like
You're like, first of
literally
all,
on
Joey smiled. That's just something.
dead. But, like, just on the list goes, they're messing with my OTP, and then they have this incredibly, like, heart-wrenching situation that you know is not going to be good for poor Jack and Joey. And then they have these incredibly funny, lighthearted moments where, like, just put a lantern on, like, the ridiculous scenario that they're
Yeah.
in. But like I feel like I've kind of been in scenarios like that where you're like it's like an ex from like a 3 exes ago and you just happen to bump into them, or they happen to know a friend of yours, and you're like, huh, how do we get here like this?
Yeah.
World is small. It's a very small place. Wow.
um, Plus, I think we kind of needed this from the heaviness of the rest of the episode.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But so this is the part I remembered about Church Boy, was that he had some interesting views on homosexuality. Um, so that what it triggered me in the last episode, because when they were talking about how he goes to Bible study 3 days a week, and then we were dealing with this Jack being gay thing, I was like, I remember how this goes now.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I know this guy now.
Yes. I was like, he did stick around for a couple episodes, I remember.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so he basically says to Jen that the Bible says that he's going to hell or whatever. And she doesn't believe that. But also Jen doesn't really follow religion, but
Hell
um
doesn't exist.
kind of like, maybe I don't really like this guy as much as I thought I did. They somehow, I don't know how they end up at her house where Grams is making them a sandwich after the bar. But they do, because it's the same night, and she's still kind of like
Yeah.
not talking to him, and he's like, "Is it because what I said about your friend?" They make some like, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck scenario, and then they refer to him being gay as quacking. So they're like, "Are you talking about the quacking thing from
Yeah.
earlier?"
Like his argument is that he's gay by choice. That it's
Right.
okay, he can choose that, but like that just puts him in the line of damnation, and then like he's going to hell or whatever. Like that matters because it's not real. But
Yeah.
like they make it seem like as if Jack is actively choosing to go through what he's going through, and Jen is like, "That's not true.
Yeah.
Like that's just not what happens. That's not what being gay is like." And he's like, "But God,
Yeah.
the world."
And Grams is
And
there, and she's like washing the dishes, and he's even like, Miss Ryan, what's the part of the Bible that says like says things about homosexuality, and she says Leviticus or whatever it is. And then she starts to give her 2 cents, and Jen is just like, please, I do not need two like moral lectures like ganging up on me or whatever. And Graham is basically like, I'm not talking to you, Jen, sit down. And she stands up for Jack, and she's like, he needs your understanding. She's like, God will be the one to judge him, like he'll judge all of us. And right now he just needs like decent human kindness, because he's probably going through a lot right now. And then Jen just kind of like stands up, and it's like, gotta love Grams. I love Grams.
also, again, the freaking yo-yoing stuff and shit.
Again with the who is this?
Really shaking my foundations for which I built my assumptions on this show. Because I was prepared to listen to Graham spew some bullshit, because that's what you expect. But no, she's actually what a freaking Christian woman should be like. Compassionate and forgiving and loving, caring, like Jesus says to do. It's kind of like, whoo! I think it's pro grandma. Fuck yeah! Like that's what I'm talking about. Like, oh my gosh.
Also, I had the
Making me
thought Rachel Lee Cook wasn't in any of these episodes, and I'm like, was she only in that one episode? And so now I'm like questioning my whole like memory of the show, because I'm like, I think that's it for her. I don't remember her being in the later part of the season.
I mean,
So
maybe,
I don't
who
know.
knows? We can't rely on your memory. It's not good.
It's not good.
Neither is mine.
Also, I had the thought, thank God Abby Morgan was not in these 2 episodes, because she would have ran with this piece of gossip. I'm surprised she wasn't, honestly, because this is the type of gossip she would have spread.
I don't think I could handle it. I'd probably be really, really just angry the entire time, because she's just awful.
Yeah.
She's like, she would be literal gasoline on the fire for sure.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Just she would just be saying the F word nonstop throughout the whole thing.
Right. So Jack has a talk with Andy, and he's just like, why do you like look for like validation from our father or whatever? And she's like, it's not a crime for me to want like approval from my father. And he's like, right. He's like, but have you ever stopped and thought if you're like proud of him? So I guess that kinda
Okay.
gets her thinking.
Mhm.
And he's leaving town, like, the next day, and Andy's like, "You're leaving? Like, I thought, like, you were gonna stay for a few days," and he's like, "I have to get back to work." Oh, he had a line that I don't know if it was in this scene or if it was at dinner. No, it was the scene,
Mm,
because he's like,
mm.
"I took time out of work and my life, like, I disrupted my life for this." Like, this
I
is your
think I
family.
wrote
What do
that
you
down.
mean you disrupted your life? This should be your life.
Yeah, I was like, your life disrupted by your children?" I think that's what I said, like, out loud when I
By
wrote
your
that. I was
children
just
and
like,
your mentally ill wife that you're not physically there to take care
"Yeah,
of, that your children are taking
yeah,
care of? Your high school children.
yeah." Oh, yeah, so your life is obviously not your family. You have a separate life
Yes,
outside of this one that you care about more than this family. Great,
right.
love it. Love to know that. Yeah, that was, yeah, I clocked that as well. I was like, "Woo."
So, Jack has an emotional, aggravated reaction to him leaving, and he basically says that since Tim died, he's like, "You've always looked at me different," and he's like, "And now that Tim's gone," he's like, "I see the disappointment," and he's basically like, "Ask me again," and he's like, "Ask you what?" He's like, "Ask me if I'm gay." And he doesn't, but Jack says, "'Cause I am," I think, and you
He
see, like,
says, "You're not gay." He's like, "I am. I
oh,
am
okay,
gay." Yeah. Yeah.
and then you see, like, Andy's, like, shocked reaction in the background. Um, and Jack is just, like, broken, crying, and I'm just like, "Oh my god," like, again, not anger emotions, just, like, remembering, like, that
Mhm.
anxiety, I guess. I was just like it was, like, boiling over. I was just, like, gonna throw up.
Yeah. 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 It's like he couldn't take it anymore. Like,
Right.
basically, he said that he's like, "I can't live like this anymore. I can't live a life of a lie."
Yeah, he's
Like,
like, "You have, like, a mentally ill wife." He's like, "You have a daughter that's come on and off anxiety medication for the past 2 years."
yeah, yeah. He full blown confronts his dad with, like, all the truths that they are doing everything in their power to stomp down and pretend like it's not happening. Like, that's kinda what the family's MO, is like, we
Yeah.
just pretend like it's not a real situation, it'll just resolve itself, but in reality, it just becomes a bigger mountain of dust and crap under the rug that no one can walk over anymore because it's
Mhm.
too big, too painful. So it's just like, oh man, that whole scene, it was just, oh, so rough, so rough. But
And he
Andy,
the father's just like, "Stop crying," to both of them, like, "Okay,
uh,
if they stop crying, are we just gonna, like, not talk about it, and then everything is okay because we stopped crying?" Like
yeah, like, I love how people just saying like, "You're not this thing. Stop feeling those feelings. Stop
Mhm,
feeling. Stop. It's making me uncomfortable. Your feelings are making me uncomfortable. So you need to stop doing that because I
mhm.
don't like the idea." Like the whole thing is mostly like you could tell the dad obviously knows what he's doing is a horrific thing to his kids. He's abandoning them. He's abandoning his wife, abandoning his family. He knows it's wrong, but he doesn't want to be told it's wrong because it makes it too real.
Yeah,
So like them confronting him about all this stuff is quite literally holding up a mirror to him and saying like, "Hey, like this is you. You're a shitty dad,
right.
and we hate you now." you
Yeah,
know?
and Andy's basically the one that tells him to leave, and,
Yeah.
um, so I guess that's, like, her, like, showing that she is not proud of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, like, thank God because I was very nervous about Andy. I thought he just could get beyond this. Like, whatever it is that kept her being like this credibly closed-minded individual. Like,
Mhm.
I was happy that she came and comforted her brother. I cheered her on while she choked, like she chased, like, leave, like get out, like come back. Like I love that. Like, oh, finally. The woman I
Um
knew was in.
So church guy is still trying it with Jen, and she's basically like, "Listen, like we have different belief systems. Like it's not going to work between us." But he's persistent, and I wasn't really sure how he left this. I think he might be around for one or two more episodes because I feel like she was just like, "You are persistent or persuasive" or something like that. So I feel like she kind of gave in to maybe giving it a try.
Well, So this is a situation where I feel like my opinion is incredibly biased or shaded by the current time we're living in. I think maybe that could be something that could be overcome in a time, but the way he was talking really gives vibes of now. Like to me, if someone thinks that about gay people, it's kind of like something that just can never get changed. Like I feel like that makes me think you just think there are subhumans on this planet. That there are
Mhm.
humans on this planet that are below you. So you get to treat them or act towards them however which way you want. If you can believe that at any point, I don't want to mess with that. I don't want
Right.
to mess with you. I don't want to mess with any of it. It's not okay, like
Mhm.
at all. Like to ever think that you're above anyone. You're a human being, literally just as much as anyone else. Like the
Right.
fact that you even entertain that idea makes me not okay. Because it's like when a guy somebody disrespects someone, waiter or a server in your presence. It's like that is a fundamental thing about your personality, dude, that I am not down with, and you can't change that about yourself. No matter how much we talk or discuss, it's not changing.
So,
So,
Pacey does his homework, and he basically looks up the guidelines for how a teacher is supposed to behave with his students,
mhm,
like, within, like, the
yep,
ethics and legal or whatever, and
yeah.
he gets some testimonies from some former students that could attest of how they were treated by that asshole teacher, and he's having a
Mhm.
board meeting to have the teacher removed pretty much from his position. But before that can happen, class looks like it's canceled or postponed, and Pacey sees the teacher
Mhm.
packing up his desk, and the teacher
Mhm.
is, ugh, he's such an ass. He's like, "Did you really think that I was gonna go to a board meeting and listen to people tell me how I've been doing my job wrong for the past 30 years?" And
Oh,
he was
this
like,
guy.
I was gonna retire in 6 months anyway. This just expedited it.
Bye. Bye. See
And then
you.
Pacey tries to have,
Goodbye.
like, a calm adult conversation with him by apologizing
Yes.
for disrespecting him
Yep.
and saying how, like, a teacher's supposed to be compassionate, and he's
Mhm.
like, this was such a dick move. He just had to get the last word. Like, how dare him?
Yep, of course.
He's just like,
Yeah.
"You're responsible for ending my career. Where's the compassion in that? You literally just said you were gonna retire in 6 months. Fuck your career.
Mhm.
So it ended 6 months early. Fuck you. Get out of
Of
here. Nobody cares
course.
about you. Get the fuck out of here." Oh, I hate him.
I know. I know. I know. He's
How
pretty
dare you
awful.
put that on a 16-year-old who is obviously gonna feel guilty about that because it's Pacey,
Right. And he's a
and he
coward.
takes on
He's a
everything.
coward. Yeah, he's a coward. He was running out before he had to answer to anyone at a
Right.
board meeting. You know what I mean? So, like, to be honest, he's a coward and a dick. So, but there was like this, and of course, I also kind of hate like how he tried to almost make it seem like he was giving Pacey a compliment, where like Pacey came in and tried to like, he said he was gonna like sorry Pacey for like snitching on you or whatever, and he was like, you do not sully like the only endearing thing that you've ever done like with us an
Right.
apology or whatever, because he stood up for the guy, and so the guy did see a, the reason why Pacey stood up for him, and that was the right thing to do. So I feel like he always had this like air of like, well, I'm always teaching the children, like you come here to be taught by me, so like I need to teach you at every given moment, not be anything else other than your teacher, your mentor or whatever. And it's kind of like, but guy, get the fuck out of here. Like,
Right.
leave already. Bye.
So glad we're done with him. I hated him. I hated him all season. And
Retired.
I think it was fueled knowing that this was eventually gonna come. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, he was
Yeah.
not a good teacher, not a good guy.
Nope. Nope.
Um,
He was not.
so Andy and Pacey make up. They both apologize to each other.
It was fine.
And I did know because I think you brought this to my attention. After they kissed, he kissed her on the forehead. That is something he always does. He kisses her on the forehead. And I don't know if it's because he's just taller than her, and that's the first, like, patch of flesh that he could kiss. I don't know.
Well, I think it's like endearing. It's kind of like Casey has always been very adamant on like trying to show Andy that like he cares about her more than like as a sexual being, which is what most boys are like obsessed with at this age. Like he
Mhm.
genuinely cares about her, and I feel like those types of kisses are kind of symbols of stuff like that, like little
Yeah.
hint that like this is more than just a fling. This is like the real thing. This is the real deal, and they just happen to be young.
Yeah.
And it's wild to think that he had to have sex with a teacher to get here.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like, the whole first season, how you were just like, "I need a redemption arc for him," and I was
I
like, "Oh
need
god."
one for
I was
him.
like, "I
This
need
is
her to like
it.
Pacey. I need her to like Pacey."
Well, I felt like there was gonna be one because like he just had such a he had such a heart about him. Like especially after the first couple episodes, I started to notice. I was like, oh, he's really like he's got something going on at
I
home.
almost
He needs
wonder,
to be
like,
safe.
once we finish this whole series, if you were to go back and watch season 1, if you would enjoy him more and be like, "Oh, that Pacey, he's a jokester," knowing what he becomes, like
Well, like, I just think I'm like, "Oh, this is his, like, F-Boys series right now. This is a
Uh-huh.
season for that," and then he goes and blossoms into a beautiful butterfly after this. I mean, there's still time. This is only season 2 now, so I'm not gonna be like I can't
Isn't it
be over
crazy?
who knows what to do.
Isn't it
Yeah.
crazy to think that season 1 and 2 are supposed to be the same school year and all this has happened from the first 2
That's what I
seasons?
was thinking. I was thinking that a little bit, like, towards the end of this episode, I was like, "Is this the same school year?" Because it feels like
Yeah.
they should be fucking seniors by now. Like, it just so many things happen that, like, they definitely have gone through so much, but, like, at
Like,
the
they're gonna
same
look back at
time
their 10th grade year and be like, "That was tiring. We went through a lot."
yeah, yeah, really think about relationships and friendships and stuff like that back in the day, they like months were like years
Yeah, that's
in
true.
dating time. Like, like if you were dating someone for 3 months, that was an eternity. Like, so like it's kind of true to like the perception, I guess, of the teenagers in that time.
Yeah.
So I could see it from that point of view, but man, it feels like 100 years have gone by and they have not. Like a handful of months, if that.
Yeah. Um, so Jack wants to have a rain check on that dinner that Joey wanted to have with him, and, they meet at the end of her dock by the water, by the creek, Joey's Creek,
Mhm.
and he sits down and he's like, "I told my father I'm gay today," and she's just like, "Why?" She's like, "'Cause you told me before you weren't."
Yeah, like, why are you coming out? You said you were poor
And
thing.
I don't know, I guess it gets muddled in the conversation because she's like, "So you're gay?" And he's like, "Yeah, no," and she's like, "You're not gay," and he's like, "Well, yeah," she's like, "You're half guy," and he, like, kinda, like, laughs, and she's like, "Don't laugh at me." She's like, "I really wanna know what the real answer is, like, because I am
Mhm.
supposed to be your significant other, like, I need to know, like, what's the sitch?" Like
Yeah, right, like, this is serious. I guess basically, like, this is a serious conversation,
Yeah.
and we the miscommunicado was,
Like,
like,
she wasn't making a
happened
joke,
or
"You're half gay," like, I wanna understand, like, what you're
like, oh,
feeling, like,
yeah,
what you're saying to
yeah.
me right now.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like the half gay was kinda probably should have been like, "Are you bisexual?" Like,
right,
or what like, is there room for you in this equation or not? You know what I mean? Like, ugh.
right. Do you think Joey could have dated him if he was bi? Or would that have been, like, a whole other insecurity that he's, like, looking at guys?
Well, no, I don't think it would have been that. I think, like, Joey right now, like, previously she asked Dawson if she was sexy, and, like and I feel like she was tempted poor Dawson was tempted so much so in the episode. I feel like he did really well in that, but, so, like, her asking him if she's sexy, like, obviously means that she explains, like, "I'm virgin, like, times 1,000, like, I don't know anything about sex, like, I don't know how to be" and, like, so I feel like she would just be insecure because she would just feel like not enough,
Right,
for him. Not
right.
even from a jealous just a not enough thing. Like I'm not enough of a person to be able to be that for you. I don't know. I think she still would. I think she'd try, but then
Yeah.
who knows? He doesn't even know. Jack doesn't even know. He doesn't even know his own real sexuality. He just knows that he likes dudes. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? For all we know, he could be anything. There's quite the spectrum.
So
he's not
bottom
a
line, he like flat out is like, I'm gay, and but he says that he does care about her, and he was afraid of like losing her. Um, she didn't really say much after that. She didn't say you're not gonna lose me, but he kind of reached out, and she like held his hand. And then we see her later, upset, crawling through Dawson's window, starts crying, and she just kind of crawls into bed and cries on Dawson's chest. And he's like, "What's going on?" And that's how it ended, with her like sobbing on
Yeah,
his chest.
that's gotta
So
be tough. Oh, I can't
whew,
imagine.
that was a lot. Both episodes, a
What do you
lot.
You did this to us.
I did
You
this.
did this to us. We Yeah, that's right. Tommy Tommy
Take
did
some
this to
fucking
all of us.
responsibility.
All 150 to 100 or so of us that watch this, he did this to us. This one, he did it. We had to go through that because of him. Take my foundation to the core. But my ship is still sailing. Thank you very much. It is
Yep,
still sailing.
it is
All
still doing.
aboard. It is
I had this,
rebuilt.
I almost feel like they have like this like fight of the week, and then they like have this like fairy tale makeup at the end of every episode.
No, and that's gonna be a little boy who cried wolf. I'm not gonna believe it after this. I
Well,
feel like
that's why they extended it over 2 episodes this time.
ah! Well, yeah, I mean, like when you prefaced it was like the most important television that's been on TV. I was like, what are they gonna do to all of them?
So
Like they're gonna kill them all.
what I said was that two important episodes to the show, and I felt like to TV as a whole,
Yeah,
because I feel like it was a little bit groundbreaking for 1998 to have a gay teen who was flat out saying, "I'm gay." It wasn't a sitcom where it was played for comedy and laughs. Speaking of which,
yeah.
this TV season was the first TV season that Will and Grace was on.
Okay,
So
okay,
LGBTQ plus was getting a little bit more representation on primetime.
yeah,
And I feel like this was the
okay.
first teen story in America anyway that took it seriously and had this coming out
Right,
story in primetime.
right. Well, yeah, prime time at the demographic that is the most beloved, the like later teen, early adult, I'd imagine is like the demo for this show. So how absolutely, this is where the money is made, maybe to give that airtime for sure.
So fun fact, you watch Buffy, right?
I did.
So they would not let Willow and Tara kiss because they wanted Jack to be the first gay kiss on the network. Yeah. So
Oh,
Tara and Willow were together in season 4, and they never kissed on screen. They didn't kiss until Buffy's mom passed away. And
oh my
it was because either that season or the season where they were together and didn't kiss, they wanted Jack to have the first kiss on the network.
oh my
So
god.
yeah.
Oh, that's kind of really sweet. Like, it's like, no, you were here. Like, we're gonna you to have this one because I know, like, yeah, Karen and Eric would always tell me like how like in most soaps, like in Melrose Place, or wherever, they would have longing glances.
Hmm.
Like on one episode of Dynasty we were just watching, they had Steven touch a guy's shoulder,
Right.
and it was I was like, ah, that's rough. Oh
Well,
yeah, I know. It makes
apparently in season 2 of Melrose Place, which would have been 93, the 93-94 TV season. So it would have been 94 because it was the season finale. Apparently, so the gay character kissed the guy, but they kind of like showed him going in, and then the camera turned away.
yeah,
Apparently, a
yeah.
kiss was filmed, and the network panicked and didn't air it. Yeah, like they panicked. It's like they greenlit it, and then they panicked last minute because they were afraid advertisers were gonna pull out, and they just like cut it.
which I'm sure they would have been irate for no real reason anyway. But like, if
My
only
feelings
sometimes
on
you
that
want
are
to.
like, okay, advertisers pull out, but you're gonna get a whole other bunch of advertisers that are pro LGBTQ plus
That's what I mean. Like, to
and
me,
fill
I
that
think
void.
like if they,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like sometimes like gay people drink and buy things. I'm just saying. One thing, and two,
we're
like,
very hydrated and we like to buy shiny
yes,
things.
they like to stay very hydrated and they love fun things. Like, it's just like sometimes it why it's like I think about like what if someone was just a little more braver a little sooner, like how much further maybe we could be along, because it's so I just don't get it. I don't understand like a lot of like aversion to just humans being the normal humans.
But even that was like
Exactly.
groundbreaking.
Always human.
Even that was like
I think of
groundbreaking for prime time
yeah.
in the 90s, like having a gay character on Melrose Place. Then Ellen had her sitcom and she came out on that. RuPaul had her own talk show at some point on VH1. Like there were steps, baby steps, but they were steps. And now we're in the late 90s, so I feel like things were starting to become more mainstream, I guess, as far as
Right. Well, yeah, they all crawled so Jack can walk. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I'm really it's nice to see that like they gave. I will say about the episodes, I feel like they gave it the gravitas it deserved. They
Hmm.
were serious about the serious moments. I feel like they attacked it from an incredibly like real place, like for the time. My only issue is just how like I feel it's just always grotesque. Like it's just not like not the storyline, just how people were then. It just drives me crazy. Like even when people are like that in real life. So it's just kind of like when I'm watching it, my body just goes embarrassment on like all the ends of the whole spectrum. Like Jack shouldn't have had to go through that. These people don't have any
Yeah.
rights to say what they were. I was freaked out about Andy. I was scared that she was going to be a bigot somehow. I'm like, no, no favorites. And like, also, even though Jack did kind of string her along, I think Joey did everything she could in her capacity as like a 15, 16-year-old girl to like navigate this situation the best she could. Like,
Mhm.
I think she is supposed to be upset. So, like, that end scene felt very real, but she did everything she could to make sure Jack didn't feel like all of that weight, because it's not really his fault. Like not his fault. Like he shouldn't have gotten into a relationship with her because if he knew how he truly felt, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Like, they're all trying to find themselves, and it's nice that she gave him the grace, at least in person, to not like be totally destroyed in front of him. Because I'd imagine that would traumatize him, right? Like in a
Yeah.
way.
So I don't really remember the next couple episodes what happens. I don't know how Joey acts towards Jack or vice versa. Like,
Oh, okay. I hope I'm
um,
not giving her too much credit.
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch 3 episodes for this batch. I do
All
remember
right.
the third episode because there's a nice cliffhanger for you in that one. But the two in between, couldn't tell you what happens.
Yours tortures us. You see, he put a cliffhanger as third episode that we have to watch. Can you believe this, viewers?
Raise your hand if you're shocked.
Pop off in the comments if you're as mad as I am that he tortures us this way with this viewing schedule. Ugh. A cliffhanger.
But that'll be in 2 weeks because I am going away tonight, actually, for a week, and so I will be recovering next week. So
And he's leaving us behind. He's leaving us with a cliffhanger and leaving us behind. How good he is. I'm just kidding. Have a great time. I'm so jealous.
um, before we wrap this up, was there anything else you wanted to add on these episodes?
I want to give Dawson a little credit. I feel like he was tempted to the gods in the season. He was very chill. Like, I mean, so many episodes, so many parts where he's with Joey alone. He could have done all kinds of mess with Joey and her relationship. He chose against it. He stuck to his morals. I will give him that.
He said he said he
So
was
I
gonna
was
move
very
on, so this is him
That's
moving
right.
on.
I think he's still lingering. I think he's still lingering after Joey, especially with all this. He kind of maybe saw the writing on the wall because it felt like a lot of times where he's just like, I don't really know, but I kind of thought maybe. Like they kept talking about how he had like these things about him that like people were picking up on. I'm like, what are these things? Like I didn't see any of the things, but again, it's like through his face, so who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just wanted to give Dawson a little kudos because I think he did the right thing by everyone in these 2 episodes when he has not been very good at that in the past.
Okay. Yeah, I thought he was very respectful and mature in these episodes, giving advice to
Yeah,
everybody and just kind of chilling.
yeah,
So
but that's about
I mean, I hope this sticks. I hope he doesn't like revert back to
same,
I have to look up and see
same.
who the writer was and if they were a writer at all in the season because everybody, like you said, were not the people that you knew.
Yeah, yes, they're coming for me specifically. Like this set, not a fan of that all that nonsense. But I love it. That's the whole thing. I love it and then I hate it because it's like I want them to live and be super happy forever, no drama. But then it's like, how does the show go on? There
Right.
isn't any. It's fiction.
And there's 4.5 more seasons, so there's a lot
I
to come.
know. Oh,
You're like, I just want it to end so everybody can be happy.
well, like I'm gonna have to be revived back to life in order to die again. I'm sure in the future. Yeah. So they pulling on my heartstrings, Ty. Not cool.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another edition of Dawson's Creek. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great night. Bye.